The Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, October 21st, 2020, middle of the weekday, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Powwow on a Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. It's been a very busy news day, and we're going to try and get through as much of the news as we can before we open up those phone lines. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. A reminder that tomorrow in our second hour, Ammon Bundy will be our guest talking about developments that have happened since the standoff at the Bundy Ranch. And so I'm sure you're all looking forward to that here. All righty, starting with a little bit light scientific news here. As we mentioned during yesterday's show, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft basically, they're calling it a touchdown, but it was really more like a brush by, where it extended its 11-foot robotic arm, kind of like a pogo stick, and bounced on the asteroid surface of asteroid Bennu to collect dirt, dust, and pebbles before the craft launched back into space. And now it's basically moving away from the asteroid, starting its long trip back to planet Earth. It's due to arrive in 2023, and that's going to be exciting stuff. Interestingly enough, the foreign press carried this story all over the place, but I'm not really seeing it get a lot of coverage in the American corporate press. I've been watching Fox News all day, not even a mention. Now, maybe it's because of my personal biases here, but, to me, this is a big deal. All right, getting on to domestic politics here and the story that will not go away, Hunter Biden and his laptop. And I miscalculated. I thought the sleazy part, the sexy part, the child sex part, wasn't going to break until the first part of next week. I was wrong. It's starting to come on out now. And there is a story from the gatewaypundit.com where it's basically talking that at 1/3 of the explicit photos of minors in Hunter Biden's laptop were of the same 14-year-old girl who apparently is one of Hunter Biden's relatives. And not only were there inappropriate photos of the child on her own, some of them were topless, but Hunter Biden was in some of them with her in extremely explicit poses. Now, basically, there's two sources on this. And again, getting back to my personal biases on certain things here, a lot of people, a lot of voters are probably going to get a little bit confused trying to work out the Burisma corruption and who got the money for access, and really, isn't this what they all do? And I really not make sense of it. But this sort of thing, sex with a 14-year-old girl, and probably some others as well, if we're to believe the source coming out of China, this is something everyone can understand. And I think the vast majority of voters are going to find this aberrant behavior. And again, the Democrats' defense is, well, Hunter Biden isn't running for president. No, he isn't. But on the other hand, if Joe Biden can't manage his own family, he certainly can't manage a country. That's the position I'm taking. Now, Rudy Giuliani is out there talking about what he found on Hunter's hard drive. It's a video. We've linked it to whatreallyhappened.com. The same thing. Pictures of underage children in compromising positions. I'm trying to keep this as polite and clean as I can here. But the sleaze is definitely starting to surface here. And apparently, there was a report yesterday that Rudy Giuliani was over at the Delaware police station. And apparently what he did is he turned over the alleged photos of underage girls from Hunter's hard drive to the police. So we've got this new dimension. I mean, you've got the crack and the cronyism and the corruption, which should have caught the attention of the corporate media, but instead they're out there trying to suppress it. But now we've got this dimension that he's been fooling around with young. This 14-year-old girl, is a relative, and coming on top of the fact that he had an affair with his brother's widow. This is not really appropriate behavior around children. Okay. So some of the actual texts are coming on out, and in one, Hunter Biden is communicating to Joe Biden what has been going on with this 14-year-old girl and what his therapist said about it. And so Joe Biden knew what was going on, which means Joe Biden technically is guilty of misprision of child porn because he should have reported this, and he didn't. Okay. Now, Dinesh D'Souza is out there saying, look at what's going on with Hunter Biden's laptop. And the 14-year-old relative and all the other children with the underage obsessive photos, to use the One American News Network's term here, and then go back and look at all those videos of Joe Biden, just sniffing little girls' hair and pawing at women and very inappropriate behavior. And start to wonder, is this like a family trait, or did Hunter Biden learn this behavior from Joe? Okay. There's another smoking gun email that's come on out there. It was obtained by the New York Post, and it shows that Joe Biden did lie when he said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings, because the smoking gun email shows that Joe Biden did meet with Hunter's Ukraine partners. According to an email dated April 17, 2015, Biden, who was then the sitting vice president, met in person with Vadim Pozharsky, an advisor to the board of Burisma. Now, the date of the email is important. The meeting between Pozharsky and then Vice President Biden would have taken place 8 months before Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion of U.S. aid from Ukraine unless the country agreed to fire a prosecutor who was looking into Burisma. The prosecutor was fired, and Joe Biden actually bragged about it, about how he'd gotten this guy canned. Now, Joe Biden is out there saying, well, they've dropped the Russian plot. That's not polling very well. But Joe Biden is out there saying, well, it's just a smear campaign. There's nothing to it. And he's insisting his son never profited off his family name, except that Hunter Biden himself, in an interview said, if your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma? This was asked by ABC News' Amy Rohrbach in an October 15th, 2019 interview. And given that Hunter Biden has got zero experience in the oil industry or the energy industry, and considering he was being paid $50,000 a month, yeah, we think something is definitely going on there. Apparently, the ex-president of Poland is now out there saying that Hunter Biden did, in fact, profit off of Joe Biden's name here. Now, the FBI is now officially acknowledging they are in possession of Hunter Biden's laptop. We know they got it last December, but officially they neither confirmed or denied it. Today, they are confirming they are in possession of the laptop. They have every confidence it belonged to Hunter Biden, and everything on it is accurate. So the FBI and the Department of Justice are in agreement with the Director of National Intelligence, Ratcliffe, in his assessment that Hunter Biden's laptop and emails are not part of a Russian disinformation campaign. And like I said, they seem to have dropped that one today because it's not polling very well. After all, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, which is really going on, that's interesting. The Secret Service has released the logs of when Joe Biden was vice president, and he and his family, including Hunter, were under Secret Service protection. And apparently, the dates and locations of travel match those in the emails exactly, which is another confirmation they are, in fact, the real deal and not somebody's fantasy here. Okay, so the feds are confirming the Biden emails are authentic. And so these 50 former intelligence officials quoted by the corporate media, they were wrong. And of course, how would they know one way or the other? They didn't have access to the hard drive copies or the original laptop. They just got rounded up by the corporate media to say, we have 50. And of course, it ends in a 0. 50 ends in a 0. You should distrust that anyway. Anytime the corporate media comes out with a number that ends in a 0 or a 5, distrust it. Okay. So Piers Morgan is out there slamming Joe Biden's tantrums and lack of denial over son Hunter's emails during the Tucker Carlson interview. And he's blasting big tech and corporate media for trying to cover up the scandal, which they're really trying to do. And they're still out there trying to do that. So Piers Morgan is saying Joe Biden has to address the corruption allegations against his son, Hunter Biden, and against himself, and not just say it's a smear campaign, because nobody's going to buy that with all the evidence that's coming on out. Now, Glenn Greenwald appeared on Tucker Carlson's show Monday night, criticizing the media for its lack of response to the Hunter Biden laptop story. And Greenwald also criticized the intelligence community activity in domestic elections, which the CIA is certainly not supposed to do, and posed the question that even if Russians are behind the story, it just requires journalistic investigation in case Biden is compromised. And that is the word you should be paying attention to, because a future President Biden is now subject to control by Ukrainian interests, who can blackmail him and his son Hunter, and with Chinese interests, who can blackmail Joe and his son Hunter. So Joe Biden has become a national security risk. I definitely think we need to keep that in mind here. Okay, we just had a little technical glitch there. All righty, story coming on out of townhall.com. The media officially becomes the communication department for Joe Biden. And, basically following the publication of the New York Post story, following the story of the laptop, and how a copy of the hard drive was turned over to the Post, apparently through Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon. But at this particular point, the copy of the hard drive appears to be an exact copy of what the FBI now has in their possession. The FBI has not indicated in any way that the hard drives don't line up. Okay, Project Veritas has scored another one, and they got Google's head of global analysis on tape, on video, saying that platforms are influencing you in a way you didn't sign up for. And certainly we didn't sign up to have our heads messed with by social media. And it's another reason we should be finding some other way to communicate. Start sending these stories about the laptop around using email. All right, big tech goes all in. A super PAC bankrolled by Silicon Valley moguls is preparing a massive TV advertising campaign to help Joe Biden against President Donald Trump. They've got $100 million in there, which includes at least $22 million from Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz. Now, what's going on here? This is not out of the goodness of their heart. Now they're afraid. They realize they stepped way over a line, and everybody knows they were trying to help Biden against Trump. And if Trump wins re-election, they know he's going to come after them. When you go after a king and you don't succeed in deposing or killing him, you can expect a bunch of stuff coming back your other way. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So these Silicon Valley moguls, they're pouring the money into the Biden campaign, or to try and help Biden, because they're scared of a Trump presidency, of a Trump re-election. Project Veritas, another score, another explosive video. This time the Google's ad manager, Adriano Amaduzzi, was caught on camera saying that Google could meddle, censor out news from the search engine, or actually stopping right-wing parties from advertising. He went on to say that Google can offer free advertising credits to Democratic parties for advertising. Now, to me, that represents an in-kind campaign donation. And there are certain campaign finance laws that come to bear on this. Over at Facebook, there's a whistleblower that says there's a hate speech engineering group that is largely staffed with Chinese nationals. And apparently, this report, again by the New York Post, reveals at least half a dozen Chinese nationals are working with Facebook to develop complex algorithms and neural networks for censoring news feeds. Now, lately, Republicans and just ordinary citizens, ordinary users, have been infuriated by Facebook and Twitter for their limitations and, in some cases, complete banning of the New York Post article about Hunter Biden. All righty. Over in, prison, if you will, Hunter Biden's former business associate, Bevan Cooney, has flipped on the Bidens and provided a huge amount of email. Apparently, he provided the password to his online email server, which has huge amounts of email in it. And it confirms the influence peddling operation. And so Bevan Cooney has now been moved out of his normal prison cell, and he's been put someplace for increased security. And they're not saying where he's been moved to, whose custody he's in, but they're trying to keep him alive because obviously he has become a liability to the Biden campaign. All righty, getting on to the election itself, 13 days away. New state polls show narrowing leads for Joe Biden in the key battleground states, including a single-point edge in Florida and North Carolina. Now, the pollster who correctly predicted that Trump would win in 2016 says Trump is on track for re-election with the help of what he describes as hidden support from quiet voters who don't do polls. And that's a good reason to be distrusting a lot of these media polls. We've been seeing all the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, fanatical liberal Democrats, Biden people going around tearing up Trump signs, literally threatening Trump supporters. So, of course, they're going to stay quiet about their preferences. In fact, Fox News had a story earlier today. 68% of Trump supporters are afraid to admit that's who they're going to vote for. And that tells you immediately that the polls showing that Biden is doing well are a fantasy, an absolute fantasy. Another aspect that people may not be paying attention to is the Black and Latino voters. Now, they delivered a Trump miracle in 2016. We already know that the Black vote is 25% for Donald Trump and may be going up. But the current numbers are suggesting that Trump is going to get a large chunk of the Black and Latino vote. Okay. Now, down in Texas, poll watcher Raymond T. Stewart, who's a retired police officer, has submitted a sworn affidavit that was provided to the Harris County District Attorney's Office. That affidavit alleges that a Houston precinct judge and staff illegally used a stack of driver's licenses in their possession to allow people to vote illegally in the 2020 election at a drive-through voting window created by the coronavirus pandemic. Stewart's affidavit was accompanied by photographs showing the stack of driver's licenses right there on the counters. This is the crookedest election in American history. Apparently over in Germantown, Maryland, they caught on camera a poll worker filling out blank ballots or changing existing ones. So everybody's out there trying to reassure you that the election is going to be honest and fair, and you should have no doubts when Biden steals it. But apparently, according to this article that came out of the Epic Times here, officials are trying to allay concerns that voter portals allow canceling of other voters' mail-in ballots in some states. Apparently, election security is so lax in some states that someone could spy on other people's mail-in ballots and even cancel their ballots with only basic personal information that's easily available online. However, spokesmen for the state's election authorities assure that measures are in place to prevent such tampering. Well, of course, they're always going to say that. You know, nobody's going to get out there and say, yeah, our elections are totally crooked here. They're not going to do that here. All right, so looking forward to the election, one way or the other. Televangelist Pat. Oh, there's the music. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and
Welcome back to our show here. And again, a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network needs you. They need your support. We don't have any large donors or corporations pouring money all over us because apparently the truth is considered unprofitable. So we need your help, and we extend a heartfelt thank you to those of you who've already donated to keep us going here. And for those of you who have yet to donate, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. All right, getting on back to the news here. Pat Robertson is predicting Trump will win re-election and then bring about the end times. It will be the end of the world. And apparently at one point he said, there'll be an asteroid that will strike the planet. Okay, so that's his take. Elizabeth Warren is out there saying that Donald Trump threatens the existence of human life, of all life on this planet. I mean, it's definitely getting extreme in these last days, counting down to the election. Now, in my old home state, New Hampshire, something ugly is going on. Homeowners are receiving these threatening letters over their Trump 2020 lawn displays. And apparently, they received letters threatening to burn down their homes if the presidential election did not result in a victory for Joe Biden. The letters were received by one resident in Milford and another in the nearby town of Brookline, both in Hillsborough County. So the case has been referred to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. And I mean, it's really getting ugly. But like I said a little bit earlier, this kind of behavior is going to convince Trump voters to stay silent, not answer polls, not raise their hands when somebody's doing a count. And that means all of these corporate media polls are way, way off in favor of Joe Biden. Okay, now another story on the same topic. This is in Blabberbuzz. Apparently, Trump fans are being targeted with these messages threatening to burn down their houses as revenge if the president were to win the election. And apparently the letter says, "Dear neighbor, you've been identified by our group as being a Trump supporter. Your address has been added to our database as a target when we attack should Trump not concede the election." And it went on to say that they hope the insurance is paid up and covers house fires. And it's a terror campaign is what it is. And that's even under the definitions of the USA Patriot Act, which is terroristic threats to change the political course of the country is an act of terrorism under the USA Patriot Act. So I hope they find who sent out these letters and send them down to Guantanamo. I think that would be an appropriate behavior. Okay, over in Colorado, an executive at a biotech company used her corporate email account to accuse Midwesterners of being retarded after a huge crowd showed up at a Michigan Trump rally. And apparently Gary Nelund, the mayor of Norton Shores, Michigan, where Trump visited Saturday, posted the message on Facebook. And it was sent by Pam Stevenson's Director of Business Development for Pixent Labs. So it's intense out there. I mean, we're seeing all these videos of people just going completely postal over the election. The Biden people are melting down. Anyway, all right. The committee overseeing the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett will be holding their vote tomorrow. It's expected she's going to squeak through along party lines here. They're looking at the final confirmation vote in the Senate next Monday. And if that vote goes through, and at last count it will, then she will be sitting on the Supreme Court before the election actually happens. Now, we mentioned yesterday that Chuck Schumer tried to put in a motion to adjourn the Senate until after the election, with the exception if they needed to come back to deal with the COVID-19 bailout. That motion was voted down, not surprisingly here. Getting on to COVID-19, which is still out there and still being politicized like this, Dr. Anthony Fauci wants us to sacrifice and give up our traditions and time with family this year. He's specifically focused on Thanksgiving right now. Halloween is pretty much dead and gone, at least around here. They're just saying it's just not worth it. Next, it'll be Christmas. So I think it's time to rename him Dr. Anthony Grinch, the Grinch who wrecked Christmas here. Down in Brazil, a volunteer in the AstraZeneca and Oxford coronavirus vaccine trial has died. No details are being shared as to the patient's name, age, sex, race, or whether the death was related to the vaccine or an unrelated pre-existing condition. We're going to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719 extension 3. 800-724-2719 extension 3.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And welcome back to our show here. And we're going to keep on reporting news for a little while longer before we open the phone lines, because there is so much going on and we need to just sort of get through it here. Turning to the international news now, apparently Israel is involved in the violence in Azerbaijan, Armenia, Nagorno-Karabakh. And apparently Israel is looking at this as a way of, once again, poking at Iran to try and provoke some kind of a response. But apparently, a lot of countries are pouring weapons in there, and it's just contributing to the suffering and death and crippling of the people over there who really don't deserve this kind of thing. All righty, Turkey has evacuated one of their observation stations in Syria's northwestern Hama province that had been encircled by Syrian government forces. Good reason to leave, I think. So the outpost in Morek had been Turkey's largest in the province. It's now under the control of Syria's President Assad. All right, over in Israel, specifically in Palestine, we've been reporting lately about all the bulldozing of lands with food crops on them, the banning of Palestinians from harvesting their olives, and now apparently illegal Israeli colonists have invaded Palestinian farmlands and olive orchards north and east of the northern West Bank city of Nablus, flooding them with raw sewage in order to make them unusable. And that's something that the Israelis like to do, is just pour their raw sewage over anybody and anything they don't like. And Mohammed Azem, the mayor of Sebastia, Palestinian town north of Nablus, said the colonists came from Shavai Shamron illegal colony, which was built on stolen Palestinian lands. So tacky, just tacky. Okay, economic news here for a little bit. Boeing has announced, in fact, it announced back on the 1st, it is going to end the production of the 787 Dreamliner jet in Everett, Washington. And they're going to be consolidating the aircraft's manufacture at its facility in Charleston, South Carolina. This is going to be a major hit to the economy of the state of Washington. Now, when Claire and I lived in Washington, we lived in North Bend, and practically everybody we knew worked one way or the other for Boeing. And we got to go down to Boeing Field. We got to tour the museum there, and we got to see the facility building the jets. It is a monster facility. And if that is being shut down, that is going to be a major blow to the state's economy. And Boeing is basically saying they want to be working in a state without Democrat lunatics who raise taxes and punish businesses, which does seem to be what Washington State has gotten into in the years since we left. All righty, getting on over to immigration and globalism and other things. Boris Johnson is threatening Great Britain will leave the EU with no deal if Brussels fails to change their stance in talks. Now, the latest word we're getting is that the talks are back on again. So there may be help for that. But apparently the EU is preparing for the worst, and that if Great Britain leaves without a deal that Brussels approves of, they're going to freeze out Great Britain, the United Kingdom, from trading opportunities, and saying the risk to the UK supply chains could be significant. Now, I remember way, way, way back when this was heating up, Donald Trump made a promise that there would be a trade deal with the United States, if Great Britain left the EU. Okay. Apparently, Encore at Wynn Las Vegas is going to be shut for 3 days a week due to lack of guests amid fears the Strip could soon be a thing of the past. And I was seeing an article on Fox News a little earlier today that the California amusement parks like Disneyland are going to remain closed for months because there is simply nobody showing up because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm sure the high price of admission is another aspect there. And the last time Claire and I tried to go to Disneyland, we changed our mind before we ever got to the gate because they had security set up and they were going through purses and everything. And, I can't have a, fun time at Disneyland if I'm treated like a POW getting in and out. Okay, we are going to open up the phone lines now. Area code 512-248-8252. And we're going to take a phone call from Chance in West Virginia. Hello, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, hello, Michael. I hope David from Boston calls. And I heard that Antifa mobs last night in downtown Boston demonstrated and actually were practicing occult rituals in public.
Okay.
So maybe David could call up and fill the listeners in on this. And before I let you go, Michael, I got to say one thing that's really, really bothering me.
Okay.
I'm getting real damn sick and tired of all these people calling others trolls and shills. Let me straighten these people out about the real definition of a troll and a shill. They're the ones who belittle others if they dare break from the fake, phony, fraud, Democrat, Republican, left-right paradigm. They are the kosher and the neocon Trotskyite Judas goats who want to keep all the others on the plantations at all costs. At this point, I really can't tell who's worse, the murderous communist left or the so-called conservative brain-challenged right. They're brothers in arms, and they don't even know it. Or do they? They thrive on the battle and not the victory. And that's all I got to say. And thank you for taking my call, Michael.
All right. Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much for the phone call. Getting on back to the news here. Apparently, between the fire and the pandemic and the high taxes and the general craziness in the streets, Californians are starting to buy up houses in Hawaii, sight unseen. And this is going to drive housing prices through the roof over there in the islands. But apparently, they're all getting ready to split on out there to Hawaii. I just hope that they like it when they get there, because it's a liberal state, and it's been getting a little crazy out there. I mean, the lockdowns for COVID-19 out there are worse than they are in California. Okay, now apparently there is trouble in the American oil and gas industry. It's being referred to as a massacre. Bankruptcies have hit a new milestone as bigger companies let go. And apparently the amount of secured and unsecured debts, loans, and bonds filings in the third quarter by U.S. oil and gas companies at $34 billion pushed the total oil and gas bankruptcy debt for 2020 to $89 billion, according to data compiled by law firm Haynes and Boone. So, of course, I can understand what's going on out there. We're all staying home. We're not driving our cars. We're not traveling. We're not using up jet fuel. We're not using up diesel fuel for cruise ships. Demand for oil and gas is really cratered, and that's why they're in trouble here. Over in San Francisco, apparently the third Walgreens in a year is closing down due to rampant shoplifting. And this is what happens when you allow chaos to prevail in liberal-run cities. But apparently, there's massive amounts of shoplifting going on, and if you try and interfere, you're accused of being a racist. And we saw that also happening in New York's trendier parts of their shopping district here. And in San Francisco, they're just shutting the stores. They can't afford the losses from the shoplifting here. Okay, now then, goodbye middle class here. Half of all American workers made less than $34,248 last year. The middle class is going away. So I don't know who the government thinks is going to be paying for everything, especially the Green New Deal, because the ultra rich aren't going to want to pay for it, and they've got the means to avoid the taxes. And the working poor, they don't have anything. So if you've erased your middle class, you've erased a major part of your revenue stream. Somebody wasn't really thinking very clearly along that line. Apparently, France and the United States are on the brink of a new trade war. Apparently, this is over the Google tax. Such tensions could trigger a trade war, which would reduce world gross domestic product. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take another phone call from Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Mike, I watched a little bit of that Trump rally yesterday in Pennsylvania, and
Yes.
then I had to turn it off. I mean, I was just man, this just disgusts me. You know, he's bragging about the murder of Soleimani again. He's actually praised the idea that he said that he didn't give the stolen heights to Israel because it's not for him to give, but
True.
he accepted the fact stolen heights is part of Israel, and of course he's pushing that damn vaccine. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, MAGA heads and you idiots, you from what's that also called QAnon. I want to ask you fools something. You actually do you support the vaccines? Okay. Do you support using our military to kill, rob, and create havoc around the world? Do you actually think that we were supposed to be an empire? Okay, an evil empire at that? Because that's not the America I know, and still not when I served in the military. That's not the military I thought I was serving in. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You actually believe that, you guys? Okay? And I'm three of you right here on this show that's always talking about praising Trump. If you have anything bad to say about the man, you just, you know, I don't know, you're a traitor.
Okay,
or
well,
this,
Mark,
whatever
Mark,
other nonsense. Yeah.
Mark, let me come on in here, and you know what's missing in the equation is how would it be different under a President Biden? And I hate to point out, I hate to point out the obvious here, but as we've observed over the last 30, 40, 50 years, it doesn't matter who the president is, the war machine continues to move forward, and the war agenda with it. And the sad reality is that presidents really are not able to control that simply because they don't even call it war anymore. It's a police action, or it's an intervention, or some other language to get around the constitutional requirement that only Congress can declare a war. As far as the vaccine is concerned, again, you know, Trump is saying it will not be mandatory. Biden is saying it will be.
Well, Mike, again, I'm telling you, as bad as Trump is, I'm going to have to vote for him, because you're right. Biden would be 10 times worse. Okay?
Okay, then really why don't you call on in and bash on Biden?
Well, by saying that, I mean, he's as bad as it gets. I mean, he's part of the military-industrial complex. He supported the war in Iraq. He's actually mostly responsible for passing that bankruptcy reform bill, one of the reasons why people can't even get out of their student loans. The man's a shill. He's nothing. And on top of that, we're finding out, I knew he was a crook anyway. I knew this thing with Ukraine by his own words. He showed what a crook he is. Okay? He's guilty on this not beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because his own words here at the Council of Foreign Relations, of all things, another crook organization, globalist organization. The man's a total useless crook, and so is Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Okay? These people are no good. Tulsi Gabbard showed Harris up in 1 minute when she went on the stage there. All right? No, God forbid, I do not want these clowns in there. But I'm not going to go and praise Trump either, because he's done a lot of bad stuff and continues even to brag about it at his rallies.
Okay, well, Mark, we're not asking you to praise Trump, but if you're going to vote for Trump, it means that somewhere in your heart of hearts you want him to win. And I would respectfully request that your future phone calls between now and Election Day focus on why Biden shouldn't be voted for.
Okay, I gave you a bunch of reasons why Biden shouldn't be voted for, and couple of good things about Trump. He has taken on the globalists on certain things. He got us right out of TPP, which is great. He got us out of the stupid Paris Climate Accord.
Yes.
He's not pushing mandatory masks and mandatory vaccines. Of course, with all the vaccines that are going to be available, who knows what may be pushed. On top of that, the mandatory he may start with mandatory testing, because he got all these test kits. These tests aren't worth anything. But Biden already says it right there. He will do it.
Yes.
Biden is a scumbag of the worst type, Mike. Okay? The man should be nowhere near the White House. He should be in a jailhouse. All right?
Yes, I agree.
With his crackhead son. All right? I have no use for Bob. Believe me, I do not want that man. By the way, I'm losing friends by the numbers on my whatever Facebook I got left there. Either big-time Trump supporters are unfriending me, or certain liberals that I have, including relatives of mine. I'm a fascist. I'm a Nazi. I'm all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm all these things. But you know what? I try to stand for what I believe in. Okay? I can't even mount it now on YouTube, because they suspended me from even making any YouTube videos. I've been a long time suspended from Twitter. So I'm trying other things. I'm trying like BitChute and a couple other things, Parler. But that's the way it goes, because I speak my mind. I look at.
By the way, for everybody who's going on out there, it's pronounced parlay, which is French for speaking.
Parlay? Okay.
Yeah, and I know it's spelled parlor, and I've even seen corporate media make that mistake. But they had the head of the company on Fox News the other day who clarified it's pronounced parlay.
What I do believe, Mike, is this: if Trump does get in, at least then maybe show you got a pair. First thing you do is take down these miserable technocrats. Take down these billionaires once and for all. Get a law in there that we can tax the billionaires, even tax their wealth, and especially these technocrats. that run these horrible corporate companies like Facebook, Twitter,
Yes.
Google. By the way, folks, you don't have to use Google, okay? I got DuckDuckGo now. I've had them for a few months now, and I'm very happy with them. Okay?
Yes.
The more people get off of some of these things, the better off you all are, all right?
Yeah.
These people are no good. They're criminals. This country is right now run by criminals. That's why things are so bad. If another thing Trump should do, and he should do it right now, is unlock this country. And then tell these states that refuse to unlock that he's going to cut off all aid to these states, period. We even started arresting some of these things. I don't care.
Mark, we've got to let you go. We've got to take a break for
All right.
commercial. We've got other callers waiting, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through healthyworldstore.com.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Mike, I think you spoke for the whole audience when you told Mark, why don't you talk about Biden once in a while? Because that's the truth. I mean, for somebody that says he's going to vote for Trump, he sure spends a lot of time running Trump down.
Yeah.
And one other thing
kinda
to
obvious.
Mark is like, I'll guarantee you it's not one of us dumb MAGA supporters that are the reason you're off YouTube and off Twitter. You're being censored by probably Biden supporters there, buddy. It's not us, but you certainly seem to have a lot of hostility towards us MAGA supporters. You know, you call us names and then you tell us, which I don't believe, but that's what you say, you're going to vote for Trump. What Seminole callers are taught to do. You know, and real quick, and about the wars. I mean, I think as a peace candidate, I think Trump has done a pretty good job in 4 years. He didn't really start any new wars. He's toned down a lot of the places in the world. Like it doesn't seem like there's going to be a war with North Korea or pulling out Afghanistan. Syria went from hundreds of thousands of people being killed every year to pretty much hardly anything. You know, so I mean, to say like Trump is a warmonger, I think that it is. It's not as far along as I would have hoped, but he's also got the whole military-industrial complex and the generals fighting him every step of the way. So I think he's done relatively well. And for his hysterics about how bad it is, I think he should have looked at like Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize winner and the 7 wars he started, or what Hillary would have done, probably be in war with Russia by now, maybe North Korea. She's as big of a Zionist, fighting. And that's the other thing really is Israel hasn't really started any wars with Trump as president, have they? That's kind of interesting. So, I think he's done a pretty good job. I think that's the wrong thing to attack Trump on is the wars. I think maybe Mark should find something else which is a little more realistic. But I really wanted to talk about is the leftists, how they destroy like how Boeing's leaving Washington, because basically, let's face it, because of the lefties out there.
Yes.
And then the shoplifting, you can't even go to the stores. So what's going to happen? Walgreens is going to pull out of all their stores in San Francisco, and then they're going to complain about racism. I mean, what's going to happen there.
Yes.
It's the economics of leftism is really it's killing their own, and it's
Hello, Joe.
the blues.
There you are. Yeah, you dropped out for a second there.
Maybe my ear hit the mute button or something, but
okay.
It's the economics of these lefties. They're killing their own like homes, their own nests. New York and all these lefty cities. They invite these. They get these DAs that George Soros. It's really amazing that they can't see it because they're so ideologically deluded, whether it's Trump derangement syndrome or the racism issue or the feminism issue. They really are they just put everything aside and there's no common sense. There really is no common sense.
Joe, I got to put you on hold. All right.
Okay.
Don't hang up. I'll come right back to you after station identification.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. And we're talking with Joe in Tennessee. And Joe, if you could just pick up where you left off.
Well, you can look at economics on a micro scale where, all this leftism, it's destroying. The NFL's losing $1 billion a week because of this whole flag kneeling stuff. The NBA is down 70% their viewership. Boeing's leaving Washington. The economics of leftism, and now, it's showing itself all the time how destructive it is to communities. Walgreens having to close, et cetera, et cetera. And yet people want to elect a president that's a lefty, that's going to just continue these kind of destructive economic programs. It's the height of insanity. It really is incredible. Remember there was that. This wokeism, this leftism is very destructive. That Denver television station that had the security guard that was Antifa and shot the Patriot. Well, They had a reporter, a serious left delusional reporter there, and he's the one that hired that Antifa security guy. And now they're going to go bankrupt because of it. So there you go.
The guy wasn't licensed to be a security guard.
That's right, but he was an Antifa, and they wanted that, and that's what they wanted because the reporter is a lefty. So the leftism is very, very destructive, and it's actually let them get their comeuppance. It's actually kind of fun to watch, except it's so destructive to other people that are innocent. That's the problem. If they want to shit in their own house, excuse my French.
Yeah, I've got to watch the language on this radio.
Yeah, but I wanted to comment on that one guy calling in, I think from West Virginia, about people arguing and stuff, and I think that arguing is great. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I don't dislike Mark, and I don't dislike Dustin, although I disagree with them. I think it's important for people to argue. I think that it's important.
Well, I prefer the term debate here, and the where I draw the line now is when somebody says that thus and such is an idiot, or this other person, is stupid. When the attacks get personal, I'm going to start shutting things down.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that I think that good, fighting and argument, I come from an Italian family, and that's what you do, I mean, it's the way, you send out ideas, you bounce them around, you get called stupid, whatever, and then you come up with, at the end of the day, you come out and say, sometimes you think things through a little better, a little different. So, I don't agree with that, kind of everybody sing Kumbaya. And, I think that it's actually vital to have opposing arguments and to just let them go. I don't get what people mean. It's okay, and then they call you oh, well, you're just some Trump tard or some MAGA guy just because you like Trump. I've called in and been mad at Trump.
Yes.
But I think that to compare Trump to Biden, especially on a show that's somewhat populist and nationalist audience, I mean, just think of the difference in everything, in immigration, in freedom of speech, in gun control, just to name a few. In foreign policy, you've seen Trump. He hasn't started any real wars. I mean, and financially, and taxes, and child things, and protecting children, and pornography, all this kind of social and cultural issues that are degenerate and vile, they really come from the left. And as a white person, you're going to vote for Biden? I mean, are you serious? I mean, look at what Trump's done as far as standing up for our historical figures and protecting statues. Although it seems silly, it's something that Biden will never do. And I just find it hard to believe that, and that's why I sit there and say, well, how can I won't say the names, but are they Seminole callers or what? How can you be so oblivious to the differences between these two people? And yeah, Trump ain't perfect, but my God, compared to Biden, he's Jesus Christ. So I'll leave it at that, Mike. And
Yes.
Thanks for hearing me out.
All right, you've got it. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open again. Area code 512-248-8252. Getting on back to the economic news here. This is a story that came out from Zero Hedge. It's actually a few days old here. But apparently, there has been a math error over at the Department of Treasury, seen on the website, and it misrepresents the interest on the U.S. debt by 30%. Now, we've all made mistakes balancing our checkbook, but this is the Treasury Department. And, I presume they've got, good calculators, Hewlett-Packard's maybe, or they're using Excel. But apparently, there was this huge goof over there. All righty, we're going to take another phone call. This is from Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Just had to respond to Joe in Tennessee. I mean, I don't know what planet he's on, but I just think his thinking is very simple-minded. This leftism crap. Look, Boeing was born in Seattle. It was a Seattle company, and it's a victim of globalism because it became a big global corporation. And just like everything else, they shipped the manufacturing other places. And also, it's a victim of immigration, legal immigration. They have H-5 visas, which the Republicans or your Reagan and all these conservatives seem to love, and the Democrats too. But it's union, so it's got higher wages. And they opened up a plant, I think, in North or South Carolina, which is non-union, so it's going to be cheaper there if they even ship the jobs there. But the plane design that screwed up was basically they had so many Indian programmers and stuff offshoring their high tech to make bigger profit that's what caused that calamity of a plane they had. And then that got, I don't know how many orders canceled, but they would have gone out of business. It was such a huge mistake.
Yes.
I mean, 2 or 3 planes crashed. So, and then you have the COVID global economic shutdown. So, it's I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, this Chaz stuff is in Seattle is obviously, it is a left-wing city, the feminist, there's not a woman in Portland or Seattle that doesn't have a tattoo and all this crap, but it's a victim of CIA basically propaganda, FBI. I think that Chaz thing was all just fake. And Tennessee, I don't know really what comes from Tennessee except what, whiskey or Jim Beam. I mean, what's the minimum wage in Tennessee? Like $7-8 an hour now. So
Well, it's whatever the national minimum wage is.
Yeah, because they're just cheap. So it's a poor ass state, and whatever. I mean, Seattle's a victim of its own success. We got Boeing, Microsoft, all these high tech companies moved into King County, and it's just too expensive and too much stuff crammed into one space, really. But yeah, it doesn't have much to do with left. But anyway, changing points. It is important to talk about the vice presidential nominee. She kind of slept her way to the top here, like lay off Trump for a while, and Kamala Harris, I mean, she basically just kind of slept her way with that, was it Willie Brown guy?
Yeah.
And then she kind of got moved up in the world. Now she's sleeping with the hardcore, very powerful Zionist Jewish guy. And she was basically just a lawyer. Other than that, I don't know what qualifications she has, so, I mean, it would be, having her as president it would kind of be a big joke in a way.
And
but,
it would be a problem. It might be a joke, but nobody's going to be laughing.
Right. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of the conservative movement, the Reagan, defenders. So I think we need more nationalism and populism, you know, which Trump was supposed to do. I'm not going to go off on Trump. I'm actually not going to vote this election. I don't really care. I put all of my mojo, put it all into Trump last time, and it's just I think this system's got to implode before anything happens. But I do hope he wins.
I agree with you on that one.
You know, if I could get home to vote, I'd probably vote for him. It's just too much. Not too worried about it right now. So, all right, I'll let other callers get on. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call here, and we're going to switch over to Nick in Clearwater, Florida. Hello, Nick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Oh, Mr. Mike. Pretty good, pretty good. Hey, man, you know, it's a rich man's war, but it's a poor man's fight out here for sure.
Yes.
William Travis from the Texas Rangers used to say, no man in the wrong can stand against a man in the right that keeps on a-coming. So I just wanted to throw that in because I used to live over there in Austin.
Okay.
Okay, you remember Kaczynski, of course, the Unabomber, you know? His main beef, of course, he's government trained and everything. His main beef was political correctness. I mean, that's all it took to set him off. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of ironic.
Yes, I agree.
So that gets into Camille Harris, who I think is a wonderful woman, and she pinpointed it at the universities. Man, that's where a lot of the crap started coming down from. Because they forgot about history, sociology, and fine arts and different things that really give us an insight into what's really, really happening. And the whole power dynamic with the alumni and everything shifted over to just power, man. Just power. It was all that mattered, you know, and what a great loss, huh?
Yeah.
Hitler. Yeah. And, well, Hitler had a book, Mein Kampf, as you know, and he had a chapter on there in half measures. And I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, half measures, if you look around, you see a lot of people, they won't get off their butt until the house is already on fire. You know, it's like, it's so hard to get people to move. You know, isn't that something, huh? They just won't move until it's right there. The dire wolf's looking in their window, 600 pounds of sin, you know? And if we could have got to some of this stuff earlier, it would have been a little bit easier. So I think if we get a chance, you know, we'll just sling Tulsi Gabbard up into the saddle. We'll put Camille Paglia with her as a running mate, and I think we'll give it a go like that. Maybe if we get a chance, Mike.
Maybe.
Remember, maybe nothing's for sure, Mike. You know, it can always go wrong, and it's the world, you know. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I wanted to bring up the first guy to really get deplatformed. You remember who that was? On mainstream media?
I'm blanking on it, but please enlighten us.
Thank you, Mike. Imus.
Yes.
Imus. They took him off TV. You remember that, right?
I remember that.
Because of they wanted to say this because he said nappy-headed girls or whatever, but really we both know that he called Hillary Shillery.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think that was pretty cool, man. The boys got balls. Now, you remember that movie Clockwork Orange?
Vividly.
And right, great movie. When they were taking all these criminals and they were going to turn them into cops, right? They were picking up all these thugs off the streets and then spinning them around and turning them into cops. And when it got time to get Alex, who was Malcolm McDowell's character,
yes,
the agent says, well, he's bold, progressive, vicious. He'll do just fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, it failed miserably.
Oh yeah. And you know that director, his name escapes me right now, but his wife was viciously attacked. Kubrick. His wife was viciously attacked at 73 because of the kind of crap that we're seeing now in the streets, you know. So I'm hopeful. You know, I'm hopeful. I do have one little bone to pick with Dave in Clearwater, though. You know, he's pretty consistent on most of his stuff. He was talking about nanometers and millimeters on the mask the other day, and I would just say, you know, hey, that's a little bit besides the point because we have a First Amendment and a right to peaceably assemble, and they couldn't do it with 9/11 or Oklahoma City or none of the rest of the crap that they got called in. And if I was them, I'd be shitting Twinkies, Mike.
Okay, well, let's watch the language here again. We're trying to play by the rules. So anything else, Nick?
No, that's it. That's it, Mike. Thank you very much. Thank you, RBN. Please donate, everybody.
Thank you very much for the kind words here. We're going to let you go and switch over to Fred in Iowa. Hello, Fred. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I like the content of what Joe in Tennessee said. The whole thing. And then the next caller from Washington bum raps him. And then you didn't go what you said, bum rapping another guy. But to get on, I told Mike, the screener, I was talking on religion. That's usually my topic. But it's difficult to debate, and I would rather have a dialogue than upsmanship.
Okay.
But it's difficult to have a discussion with a Christian, let alone an atheist, because they hate God, don't even know God. So that's usually.
Let me give you the atheist point of view. How can we possibly hate something that doesn't exist?
Well, there you said all of it. You answered to the whole audience. It doesn't take much to figure it out. But the host, I've noticed for a long time, almost 6 years, they love parrot callers. They don't want to debate. They don't want to have a dialogue. Anyhow, I've said enough. Good.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call, Fred. We're going to change over to Stuart in Maine. Hello, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Mike? Yeah, I'd like to kind of give a kind of a sort of defense of Mark from North Carolina. I think he's entirely, the reason he doesn't criticize Biden is because it's a given that Biden is a disaster. As far as Trump goes, you have people who have this glowing opinion of Trump. Now, Trump is, he's a step in the right direction. I mean, he's, get my train of thought here.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that he hasn't done. Okay. And this gets kind of glossed over by people like Joe in Tennessee and the rest. Okay, let's put a sense of realism to the situation. Yeah, he's better than Biden, way better. There's no doubt about that. But he's better than past presidents. But that's not really saying a lot. Okay, our reference point should be what needs to be done, and on that he's failed in a lot of areas. Some his own fault, and some because he's got a bureaucracy to overcome. Okay, but he represents the nationalist spirit as opposed to the capitalist spirit. Okay, The capitalist spirit is the money power. That's all that matters. Okay, now, along with this is something that where do we go from here? What does Trump represent? He's a holding point. He's a finger in the dike. Okay, and possibly with a second term he could do some things. But the problem is the bureaucracy. And
yes,
you're not going to change it by voting. Okay, we've had 100 years to do that. Okay, it's set up. It's rigged against you. It's hard to get third parties on the ballot. It takes a lot of money, and so, as I've mentioned once before, either there'll be a military coup at the top levels, or there'll be at the bottom, at the lower levels, there'll be a secessionist movement. Now, this view of where do we go from here is never really talked about. It's not talked about on RBN, and it's not talked about in most places. Trump is not going to solve the problem. He's like I say, a finger in the dike, and this is a subject that needs to be discussed. Because
well, it definitely does here. I think we're going to have to go through a complete collapse and a rebuild. Anyway, Stuart, stay on the line. I'm going to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back with Stuart and additional phone calls. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Please view, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stop terrorism. Please contact us if you or anyone you know who wants to be on our show at thetruthpharmacy@gmail.com. Keep it real. Take the red pill.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
Welcome back to our show here. And before we go back to Stuart here, I got an email from somebody saying that Tennessee, besides whiskey, produces one other thing we should all remember, and that's country music. Comes from this little tiny town called Nashville here. All right, so we're going to go back to Stuart. And Stuart, if you could just sort of pick up where you left off.
Okay, you know, a lot of people, you always hear, well, we have to go back to the Constitution.
Yes.
You know, I don't really think that's realistic anymore. I think you have to recognize that. Well, okay, we got here under the Constitution. This is where it led. And I think you have to ask and recognize that there are weaknesses in the Constitution. I'm not talking about the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. There are weaknesses. People don't want to discuss it. They don't want to recognize it. Just all we hear is restore the Constitution.
But my concern is, you know, I'm hearing all these people who want a new constitutional Congress to write a new constitution, and I'm very concerned to put into it that is not for the interests of the American people.
I'm not sure.
Well, basically what I'm saying is even with its flaws, I think our current Constitution and the first 13 amendments, you know, are a good place for the country to be starting from.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Okay.
But I just I guess my main point is just that Trump is a short-term solution. No.
I'm not sure he's really a solution anyway. I mean, he came into office, promising to clean up the election system, and he certainly did not do that, as anybody with eyes can see right now. And I think, from my point of view, that's probably his greatest failing, is not cleaning up this election system so that the people really are in control of the government to at least some extent.
Right. Well, I think people don't. All this talk about we have to limit how much people make, and in this problem, of money controlling things, and the limiting of how long you're in office. I think it all comes down to you need to control the money power, and
Yes.
it avoids the issue of you need a strong government. Small government led us here. This is what I'm saying about. This is why I think the Constitution is as a whole is an anachronism, because the architecture of the government that it advocates is not strong enough to prevail against the money power.
Well, when the Constitution was written, the money power wasn't the behemoth it is today, and Abraham Lincoln actually warned about the formation of corporations, which could not die and could just go on accumulating wealth through the generations.
Right, and that's a power in itself that can only be countered through a strong government, and people don't want to hear that. They want to hear small government, and I think this is a big problem.
Well, what we want is a government that's back on the side of the people, that is in standing between the general good of the public and the greed of the money junkies. But unfortunately, our current government, big or small, has gone totally fascistic, and it's aligned with the money power. And shrinking the government isn't going to change that.
Right. If you read any of the writings of the fascist movement, you'll find that its main principle is defense of national culture, not oligarchy. You equate it with oligarchy, which I disagree with.
Well, I'm going from the economic model of fascism.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, but I think it's subordinated to the national culture, and anyway, I thank you for your time, Mike.
All right.
Or somebody else get on.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call here. And I'm going to just chit chat a little bit because we're too close to the commercial break. I mean, fascism as an economic model is that if you make money, you get to keep it. If you lose money, the population is taxed to cover the losses. Socialism is a system in which if you make money, it's taxed for the benefit of society. If you lose money, society is taxed to cover the losses. Capitalism is a system in which if you make money, you get to keep it. And if you lose money, you're responsible for that debt, because freedom includes the freedom to be responsible for bad choices you make in business. So that's basically where I come from on those three models. Now, I'm an old-fashioned capitalist at heart, the way capitalism used to work back when it was turning this country into the greatest nation on earth. But it has become mutated and perverted and skewed, where instead of individuals and companies becoming rich by being very good at what they do, now it's just gaming the system for profit at the expense of our manufacturing quality and certainly our standing in the world. Okay, we're going to take another break for commercials. We got other callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extension
Extendivite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendivite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendivite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay, unemployment getting worse.
Welcome back to our show here. And before we get back to the phones here, I meant to mention this earlier in the show. Today is the peak of the Orionid meteor shower. And I got up before sunrise this morning. We actually had a very clear sky, and I saw quite a few meteors. So for you astronomy freaks, you may want to think about getting up in the early morning hours when Orion will be above the southern horizon, and that's the radial from which the meteors come. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here now to James in Vancouver. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah. Hello. I was listening to everybody, and this has all to do with the fact that America still has, am I right, 100 million people out of work. Is that correct?
It's somewhere around there. It's hard to get an accurate figure because everybody's fudging the numbers for their particular agenda, but it's a lot of people.
Okay, so look at, I was living in Asia for 30-some years, and I came back in 2014, and I was listening to your show, and you had mentioned that, and I said to myself, this is crazy. United States of America, with 100 million people, say, unemployed, no wonder there's all this social strife. And if people had their jobs back, then, people would have a job, and you could do your job, and okay, I got money, and, I can go have a beer after work, something like that, right? like the way the economy was 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is my point, is that jobs, yeah. Now the jobs have been taken away, obviously, by a grand design. This started with NAFTA, right?
Oh, it started before then. It started before then when there was a change in the tax code that actually incentivized offshoring jobs.
Right. Well, this is the thing, and until the economy in the United States gets back to the way it was, say in 1955, we were making Thunderbirds. You know that song?
Yes.
A guy from Detroit. Yeah, in 55, we were making Thunderbirds. Well, it's got to go back to that. When it goes back to that, then all this political stuff will just vanish, right? The Constitution you got right now is good enough. That's not going to change anything. Changing that Constitution, that's a waste of time. It's got to be going back to the basics of economic capitalism, if you want to call it that. That's what's got to happen.
Yeah, you got to manufacture a product to make the nation prosperous. Unfortunately, most American companies are top heavy in terms of their executive offices, and those executives are being paid huge amounts of money, which basically comes out of manufacturing quality products or providing good services. It's all being value engineered, and that's why we can no longer lead the world in these areas.
Yeah, well, and then Canada's suffering too, because I look around me in the area I'm living and I see a whole bunch of small factories that were once doing piecework, probably to support the United States, you see, and they're all in mothballs. These
Yes.
factories haven't worked the 1980s, maybe, you see. My father had a factory in Canada. I know this. We used to import all our finished goods from the United States. Places like Wisconsin, Illinois, all of those things. And then finally, he said, things are changing. This was like 30 years ago. And I was overseas at the time, so I really wasn't paying attention. But this is something that everyone's got to realize is
Yes.
this economic thing has got to go back to the way it was. And that's what I wanted to say. Now, I think Donald Trump, I mentioned him yesterday, I think he wants that. Obviously, there's probably a lot of bureaucracy that's stopping him, but it's the job, see? And the, other things, but the borders and, okay, lower taxes, yeah. Affordable health care, very important.
Yes.
It's all got to come, yeah. So that's basically what I want to say, and wish everybody a good election and Thanksgiving. They're taking the other things away, but I think we still have Thanksgiving in November. Am I right?
Well, we're going to have two of the biggest turkeys in the country talking to each other tomorrow night.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, Michael. Aloha. Good day to you. First off, Michael, I'm watching some of these networks. They're talking about if Biden wins, he'll sell us out. No, he's already sold us out.
Yes, he has.
Sold out by Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, the listeners, the Mike show. We haven't.
Yes.
It's actually a sellout. It's already a sold out. It's a sold out show with the bumbling Biden buffoonery. Now, Mike, and before I go there, I have to bring out the Jewish kosher sludge again. The Matt Sludge report. Now they're saying Joe Biden's up 12% in the state of Iowa with the Catholic vote. I mean, excuse me, the nationwide. And that's another thing. I was leaning blue because the Catholics don't know how to vote. But now 12% of the Catholics nationwide are going to vote for Biden over Trump. Well, Hillary Clinton got 34% of the Catholic vote in 2016, ladies and gentlemen. I think Trump's doing much better with the Catholic vote, wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah. And again, the corporate media polls are really worthless because, again, they're repeating what they did in 2016. They're pushing the candidate they want by saying, oh, everybody around you is going to vote for Biden, so be a good little sheep and vote for Biden too.
Exactly, and this is the ploy like they use in New Jersey. This is the same thing they use in Jersey. That's why that state's so blue in New York and all that. And all these Orthodox Jews they're probably going to sit out the election now because they're all PO'd at the Democratic rat party. But listen, Mike, here's what's really I want you and all your rest of your callers to talk about. I guarantee they will. And you will too. You know what this whole thing's coming down to, Mike? It's about the teachers union. How these teachers in this country have blackmailed our student population to hate this country, Mike.
Yes.
Okay? That's what this is all about. Every one of your callers are going to call in. I don't care if they call in today, tomorrow, next week. This is all about the teachers unions, how these communists have taken over our school system and brainwashed multiple millions of young kids, white, black,
Yeah,
Hispanic. And by the way,
critical race theory is now being taught K-12.
absolutely, Mike. And it's about, you know what? Donald Trump is doing something right. I want that Mark to call from Carolina tomorrow, and I want him to hear out of his mouth or calling right now. 1776 should be promoted. The scumbag Jeb Bush should be arrested for that. Him and his scumbag brother did, those skull and bones rats, what they did with Common Core. And you got a guy like Jeb Bush pushing Common Core with his brother, and this guy said he'd rather speak Spanish and English in his household. That guy should be arrested, that Jeb Bush. He was a dirty, rotten governor in Florida. That crook. What he did here in this state is, thank God we got Ron DeSantis in here. Because can you imagine if this guy Gillum would have won, Mike? This guy Gillum, this pedophile, almost won the election of the governor in Florida. Look at New Jersey, Mike. Come on, look at New Jersey. Look at New York. Look at California, Mexifornia. It's destroyed. And you know what? I blame it on the lily whites that allowed their country to be overtaken by these teachers unions and training our kids to hate, and black kids to hate our country. They hate our country so bad, these teachers, that they're Bolshevik communists. Exactly, they are. They should go live in Russia. And you know, matter of fact, hell, go 90 miles and go live in Cuba. And you know what, Mike? You know what's all going to come down to? I bet you all your other callers are going to call in and say it. You know what this is going to come down if Biden wins? You remember I told you this, Mike. I'll say it on air, and I'll say it a year from now. Joe Biden wins. You know what's all going to come down to? Other than the rioting and looting with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, Mike, it's going to come down to food distribution, where these truck drivers won't even bring food into these cities. They'll say, screw you, use the military. Because if it goes into food rioting, ladies and gentlemen, it's over. And as far as that guy Fred calling in from Iowa, that guy's going talks for like 30 seconds and he hangs up on you all the time. I noticed that. But Fred, you should fight for your state. Now they're saying your state's leaning blue. Iowa's leaning blue, Mike? It's going to go blue this election? According to Matt Jewish Sludge, Kosher Nostra Sludge, saying the state of Iowa's going blue now, where a lot of food's coming out of. Mike, This is chaos. This is chaos, what they're trying to do. And it's all because of these teacher dirty unions and these teachers who hate our country. They hate our Constitution. They hate what white men say. Mike, they want to change the name of these elementary schools. Washington's a racist. Jefferson's racist. They change all these schools. What are they going to call them? Malcolm X's? Louis Farrakhan High School? Is this what we're coming to, Mike?
Yeah, we're probably aiming that way. You know, we're the old original American culture is being erased here.
Absolutely. Here in South Florida, in one of these papers down here in South Florida, Mike, just so you know today, they reported that 68% of the Hispanics in South Florida are voting for Trump or leaning Trump.
Okay.
So you explain that to me, how Trump's getting the Latin vote in Florida, and he, you know, like it's neck and neck here. But what, Mike, let me ask you, maybe one of your other callers, or maybe you know this. If Trump loses and Biden wins, is it because of the white female? The white female turned on Trump that bad? I mean, I don't believe the white male.
I think that's a bit of propaganda to try and explain Trump's loss, because I think most people are aware that if we had fair, honest, verifiable elections, if the illegals were not being allowed to vote, that Trump would easily win re-election in a landslide. And so the corporate media is trying to put out all these reasons ahead of time why he's going to lose, so that when the election is stolen, we'll just say, oh, well, I guess it was the single white women who turned on him, or it was the black vote, or the Hispanic vote, or it was the illegal alien vote that did it. And, just sort of let the matter go. But I don't think we should. And as I said, Trump's biggest failure, in my opinion, is that he had all this time to establish a verifiable, accurate, honest election system in this country, and he failed to do so. And yes, there was bureaucratic resistance from the state election boards, but just turning it over to the Homeland Security Agency really was not a solution.
You know, and I have to agree with you on that, Mike. I do agree with you on, but you know, you have a couple callers that live in a state that we all know about, and there's a big Cuban population in that state. Are they all a bunch of? I mean, maybe those Cubans are a lot more liberal than the ones down here. But those same ones that are up in that Jersey state, they came out of communism. They know what communism is all about. They want to go back to that. I mean, you got that guy Van Noy in Jersey who switched parties. Okay, so you had a call say, well, that state's blue. Why don't those guys in that state that are calling your show, why don't they go independent and try to shoot out on these radio shows up there? Hey, look, if anything, we don't want you to be Democrat. We don't want you to be Republican. We want you to be an independent thinker. What's wrong with being an independent thinker, Mike?
Absolutely nothing, except that both political parties will hate you for it.
Exactly, and that's what's going on here, and that's why a lot of like Jersey and New York and all these New England states are a bunch of brainwashed fools. You look, Mike. I found this out. There's 18% Jews in Connecticut. 18% of that state's Jewish, but they vote for Jewish senators and Congress people, and they can't find elected a white man or a white woman or even an Afro-American man or black woman, which is I guess like the Jewish population, but the whites are predominant up there in Vermont and all that. Like in Vermont's mainly 98% white. I think it's 14% Jewish, and the rest is white Christians, and they're going to vote for a communist guy like Bernie Sanders, Mike? What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
A buffoon like him. And let's not kid ourselves. Joe Biden's going to copy everything that manifesto has. It is
yes, we're already aware of that Biden is basically taking Bernie's playbook here. Anyway, listen, Tom, I hate to do this, but we're running out of time. We're almost at the end of the show, and I want to get through a few more phone calls. So thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Peter, thank you for waiting. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, hi, Mike. A couple things. First off, on the cleaning up the voter system.
Yes.
He should have done that, but I would tell you again, as I say again and again, politics is the art of the possible. They weren't the states, especially the Democratic states, weren't even responding to Trump. They were not giving up any data. It was impossible to get that done. Now, perhaps now, after 4 years of listening to the media and all their dissembling and lies, listening to the intelligence agencies who have weighed in with corruption and on the side of the Democrats and so on, and tried to coup all these people. And all these things have come to the light now. Maybe it can be done in a second term, maybe.
Well, I would like to see it happen, and that's certainly going to be my focus, after the election season is over and the rioting is over and everything like that. I'm definitely going to go back to pounding on this issue of honest, verifiable elections. It can be done, and what we have to do is motivate people in the individual states to go to their state election commission and say, look, how you did this last time was terrible. It's time for a reform.
Yeah, but Mike, I think you'll agree in term one here, with the Democrats not accepting and rioting all over, not accepting the results of the election, with the media not accepting the results of the election, with the states rebelling against him, with the secret police and the criminal, ridiculous secret police establishment we have also oppose him. It was impossible to get done. But now the media has been discredited. Social media has been discredited. The secret police have been discredited. The Democrats have been discredited to a very large extent. Maybe now it can get done. The other thing is, I totally agree with a couple things that earlier callers, both Joe and Mark, said. I'm glad that Mark's going to vote for Trump, and I think this is an existential election, and I with 3 weeks or 2 weeks from the election, let's talk. I'm really glad that you said that to Mark, who I really like, about listen, just tell me why you're not voting for Biden. Because it's existential. In my book, it's existential. If Biden wins, we're lost.
I agree.
I also agree with Joe about arguing. Arguing is good. And you know what? Let me give you one more. I agree with Mark, and we've talked about this many times. As far as I know, he and I are the only ones who repeatedly hammer on this. We can't have a system, and you were talking about the money system with another caller. You can't have a system where we're the puppet playthings of these billionaires. And the root cause of everything is the Federal Reserve, and the fact that we don't have control of the money, that all this money is printed, without, out of nothing by a bunch of people in a private company that are ethnically driven, and they've never been audited. And that's the root cause. And then you look at the billionaires who are playing us like Stradivariuses. We cannot, Mark is absolutely right in one of his central theses, is that we can't have billionaires anymore. We just can't. I agree with that
they're
completely.
wielding too much trouble, power. And when you have a government that's ready and willing to sell out, as the Biden family has demonstrated, as the Clinton family has demonstrated, as the Bush family has demonstrated, billionaires wind up running the country. All right, well, listen, Peter, I'm going to let you go. We've got 3 more callers I'm going to try and fit in before the end of the show. So let's switch over to Mark in New York. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I'll take you off a speaker here. Yeah, I called in. I wanted to clear up a couple of things, but I'll get right to it. Your Banker's War movie on the Amazon reviews, I'd like to get the Rivera Rangers to get in there. They got some trolls on there saying it's giving it should got 0, but I'll give it 1 star, and it's better than that. And you have your movie producer, they're trolling him. He's trying to say you got to open up your mind. It's good. So I wouldn't mind seeing somebody call in on your show, pick out 3 points, and call in on the new number to try to tell you, But maybe when they go see your movie, they don't know you have a radio show. So I would like to see Rivera Rangers get on there. You can hit report on some of the trolls that don't really, that are not giving your movie a fair shake. Banker's War, all wars are Banker's War. Now, moving on to Mark, progressive. He sounds like he's progressive when he sounds like Bernie when he says, let's tax more. Right now, we have a progressive tax system. And I just think, I find he sounds like a blowhard that always scolds. The same thing like with Dustin, he always obsesses. I remember a while back, he was like when the Russian planes buzzed over our ship out there, he was always like, Putin's going to kick Trump's ass. And that went on for weeks, and that's what happens with Dustin. He obsesses for weeks on end about one topic, and lately being the mask. But moving on, I mentioned the Big Brother, the 1984 movie. It was actually how many fingers I'm holding up while the guy's getting electrocuted, and he holds up 4 fingers. And that's what I was trying to get at, that the MSN, the pundits, the politicians, the job to repeatedly jab targets like boxers, they're softening up these Trump, Why don't boxers just go into the ring, dance around in the 12th inning, just give a knockout punch? Because for some reason these jabs just undermine everybody, But D'Souza, Hunter, look at the Hunter laptop scandal. They're calling it today on NYC. They're calling it a conspiracy and Russian meddling. Biden.
Yeah.
Whatever. I could go on. I got a list here that I'm going to skip over. I'll save for another day. But I'd like to go on the solutions. We have the best money that government can. We have the best government that money can buy. Right?
Yes.
And I think that the polls lining their pockets, donors, lobby money out of control, and it's got to be stopped. And Trump's outsider status has uncovered unprecedented corruption and irresponsibility. These false narratives got to end. I'm thinking national liable courts, some kind of trained jurors that you go in and you got to hear these guys. I think the onus, if you're going to go in, another thing is that I call it the shift law, that, the accountability law. You can't bear false witness without proof. You're going to go up. That's got to go because they've proven they're irresponsible. Shift for a year or two. What's going on there? I got a list of stuff that they did wrong. Elitists, they're gaslighting. Outsiders aren't allowed. American majorities and minorities aren't disenfranchised. Establishment pundits, polls, and bureaucrats are heard daily doing this. So the onus is on the legislator to provide proof before he gets on the floor of the House and starts telling lies. This is insane. You know,
Well,
and the other thing is,
believe it or not, politicians take the position that lying is protected speech under the First Amendment, which I think is absolutely nonsense. The
Yeah,
First Amendment
that's
is there to
very
protect the
true.
truth, not to protect the liars here. Anyway, Mark, we're almost out of time. I got
All
two
right.
more calls I need to get through. So let's switch over to Miles in Maine. Hello, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, aloha, Michael. You know, I love that last caller. He just stomped, as
Yes.
did Peter, Tom, and Joe. And, you know, and thank you for letting them know we're getting close to election. You know, you guys need to be thankful for what Trump did. You ran him down now for 4 years. Let's give him 15 days, okay?
I agree.
On the good things that he's done. Yeah, let's give the guy 15 days. He deserves that. He's owed that. You know, and they never even give him a chance to talk with this media or anything like that. Give him 15 days and shut your mouth and then tell me what you think. Okay, and then as far as this guy from West Virginia, I mean, how ridiculous. You know, oh, there's no trolls and there's this. Really? You know what it reminds me of, Michael? It reminds me of when everybody was talking about 911 and some of these other events in the Federal Reserve. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Really, buddy? You don't think there's trolls out here? Really? You don't think there's disinformatists out here? You're Rip Van Winkle, buddy.
Oh, there
I
are
mean, if
public
you don't
relations firms where that's all they do.
Oh, yeah. What about they've had the Israeli media on Facebook,
Yes.
you know, trying to convince people of different things and it's college students and stuff. But, you know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And what did, was it Jefferson? You want to be ignorant and free? I mean, wake up. What is this third party nonsense? You know, when we founded this country we never had a third party. We never had all this stuff. For a while, we had the Whigs. Okay. But you know
No,
what?
we had multiple parties. The two-party system didn't come along till later, and that was to limit how much money the big corporations had to spend to control the outcome of the election, because they would buy both candidates, and no matter who won, they were in charge. Miles, I got to let you go. I'm going to try and fit one more call in before the end of the show. David in Boston, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Michael. I have to disagree with Miles as far as Chance goes. He's one of my favorite callers. I really enjoy Chance's calls. West Virginia, he's a son of West Virginia. West Virginia can be proud of him. But, hey, the reason I called in is because of Chance, Michael. Very quickly, I was driving in a car with my friend and everything, and when he was the first call you took, and he mentioned my name, and he said maybe Dave will call in and tell us what happened. Well, and I didn't hear what Chance was referring to, but I'll tell you this: the only thing I can think that he might have wanted to know what happened in Boston last Sunday. There was a what they call a Super Happy Fun America rally, and these are the same people that marched in the Straight Pride Parade, and I marched in the Straight Pride Parade about a year ago or something. You know, maybe not quite a year ago.
All right, David, you're going to have to finish this. You're going to have to finish this story tomorrow because we are out of time. There's the music. And please stay tuned for John Stedmiller's show. In hour number 1 will be Roger Landry taking the microphone. In hour number 2, it'll be Steve Elkins. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting Network. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help to keep doing what we're doing. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.